Welcome to the English Desk. This channel takes English apart and puts it back together in a way that makes sense. Short lessons, clear examples. Let's get into it.
hmm
Today, we are tackling a really specific, a deeply ingrained linguistic hurdle. It's a problem that frustrates English learners long after they feel like they've reached fluency.
Yeah, it's a persistent one.
We are diving into two of the most basic yet structurally confusing verbs out there, say and tell.
That's right. And for this deep dive, we pulled a custom set of advanced grammar resources. Because say and tell, well, they're often treated like synonyms, but they're not interchangeable at all.
Not in the slightest.
They're structurally distinct. So our mission today is to reveal that underlying grammatical skeleton. The goal is for you to stop relying on, vague memory or context,
Right.
and instead use a reliable structural checklist every single time. This is genuinely the shortcut to mastering this.
I think everyone listening knows that feeling. You write a sentence, you pick one of them, and immediately you second guess yourself.
Mhm.
You feel like the other one should have been there. It feels like a choice about meaning, but the sources we looked at are clear. It is purely a structural decision.
It is.
So let's get into it. What's the absolute foundation? What does the material identify as the core difference in focus between these two verbs?
Okay, so it all comes down to direction and focus. Say, focuses almost entirely on the message itself,
The content.
the content of the statement, yeah. It doesn't really matter who hears it.
Yeah.
The emphasis is just on the words. So for instance, she said the truth. The action is completed simply by uttering the words.
And then tell comes in and it forces a second player into the action. It completely flips the focus.
Precisely. Tell focuses on the listener, the recipient of the message. If we use that same example, she told me the truth.
Right. That me is everything.
It's the crucial element. This is the foundational structural clue,
Yeah.
and it's mandatory for almost all uses.
Hmm.
Tell almost always requires a direct object.
A receiver.
A receiver, yes. It's a directional verb in a way that say often just isn't. The action of telling has to land on someone or something.
That structural requirement, the mandatory receiver, is so key. I mean, if you can just internalize that tell is directional, that it needs a target, you've pretty much won most of the battle.
You really have.
But, okay, if the rule is so clear, why do even advanced learners mix these up constantly? If the answer is just direct object required, where's all the friction coming from?
Well, the material points to two really significant and related sources of confusion. The first one, and it's arguably the most powerful, is what linguists call transfer errors.
Meaning you're transferring patterns from your native language into English, even when they don't fit.
Exactly. Many of the world's languages use just one verb to cover both concepts.
Oh, I see.
Or maybe two verbs, but with the same grammatical structure. So in those languages, the verb is often followed by a preposition and the recipient. You get a structure that translates directly as, he said to me the news.
Ah, so they never had to learn that one verb demands an object directly, while the other one often needs a word like to.
Correct. So when those learners come to English, they just see say and tell as synonyms for communication. They don't see the deep grammatical difference.
So they might try to say something like, he told the policy was wrong, and just leave out the manager, leave out the object.
Right. Or they might overuse tell in places where say is required because the real focus is on the content, not who heard it.
That structural clash explains so much. The source material also mentions something interesting, that this error is also hidden in speech, but just jumps off the page in writing. Why is that?
It's a great point. When you speak quickly, your pauses and your intonation can kind of smooth over that missing object.
Right.
You might hear, he told, the news was shocking, and your
Oh.
brain just fills in the blank. It supplies the implied listener.
But in writing.
In writing, he told the news was shocking is just, well, it's grammatically wrong. The structural hole is immediately visible. The verb told is just dangling there without its required direct object. It feels broken.
Okay, so transfer error is the first linguistic friction point. What's the second major source of confusion?
The second one comes from the context where you see these words the most.
Huh.
Reported speech.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. When you're writing a story or just telling someone about your day, You are constantly recounting what someone else said or told you.
So both verbs are appearing all over the place.
Exactly. Often in the same paragraph, sometimes in back-to-back sentences, and that just blurs the lines for a learner who's already a bit shaky on the core structure.
It's like putting two very similar-looking buttons right next to each other on a complicated dashboard. When you're under pressure, you're bound to hit the wrong one eventually.
That's a perfect analogy. The source material really highlights this as a high-density area for mistakes. The learner thinks, okay, I am reporting information, and then just defaults to the wrong structure.
Because in their mind, both verbs just mean to communicate.
And that's the trap.
Okay, so if the structural requirements are the definitive key, let's simplify this. Let's make it a clear, reliable, two-part check that anyone can use. How do we choose correctly in the moment?
This is the practical part. You have to momentarily forget the meaning and focus entirely on the grammar that comes after the verb.
So we're looking at the architecture of the sentence, not the intention behind it.
Yes. Rule number 1 is the tell check. Check for a direct listener, a recipient. If there is a noun or a pronoun, a person, a group listed immediately after the verb, then tell is almost always the right choice.
Okay.
The structure is fixed. Subject plus tell plus direct object plus then what was said.
Like she told her daughter the story. Her daughter is that mandatory direct object, no tell.
Precisely. And rule number 2 covers the other side of it, the content focus, which locks us into say.
Right.
If the sentence is designed to highlight the statement itself, the content, the words, and there is no direct object right after the verb, then say is your verb.
So the structure there is subject plus say plus content.
Exactly. For instance, she said the story was long. The focus is on the story being long, not on who she said it to.
That structural focus makes all the difference. Now, I know the source material gave us a really simple little litmus test, a way to confirm you're using say correctly, the to someone test.
Yes, it's the easiest way to double check. So remember we said say doesn't direct the message.
Right.
Well, if you can correctly insert the preposition to plus a recipient after the main statement, you're almost certainly dealing with say. You can correctly say, she said it to me.
But you can't say she told it to me. That just sounds wrong.
It's grammatically incorrect. That ability to slot in to someone confirms that say is focused on the message first. The destination is secondary, and it needs that little preposition to attach it.
So if you don't need the to, if the message is being aimed directly at someone, you need tell. That little preposition is like the grammatical border patrol.
It is the absolute giveaway. Now, before we get to application, we do have to talk about the exceptions.
The elephant in the room.
The very things that make this deep dive necessary. If the rule is tell needs a direct human object, what about phrases like tell the time or tell a story? The object there is a concept, not a person.
Yeah, that's where so many learners get tripped up. They memorize the recipient rule, and then these common idioms, which are structurally sound, just confuse them. So why don't those need a person as the object?
Because in those specific fixed idioms, tell a story, tell the time, tell a lie, tell the truth, the verb tell has taken on a slightly different, a fixed meaning.
Okay.
It's about communicating something comprehensive or sequential, but the structure is still the same.
What?
Subject plus tell plus direct object. The structure holds, even if the object is a concept.
So the object is still mandatory, but it represents the entire package of information being sent, not the person getting it. What about the flip side? Are there common phrases where say takes a non-human object?
Absolutely. Think about formal or religious language. You don't tell grace or tell a prayer.
You say grace or say a prayer.
Exactly. This just reinforces the content focus of say. In these cases, the verb refers to the utterance of specific fixed words, rather than transferring new information to a specific person. We could almost call them the fixed utterance rules.
It's fascinating how even those fixed idiomatic uses still reinforce the core distinction. Say for uttering content, tell for directing communication.
It all connects back to the original challenge. We're not dealing with a simple vocabulary translation here. We're dealing with two verbs that have been assigned entirely different architectural roles in an English sentence.
Okay, let's move to real-life application now. Let's go a bit deeper and look at scenarios where the structural difference actually changes the meaning, especially when we move beyond simple statements and into directives or commands. This is where it gets really interesting.
That's a great point. Let's start with an academic setting. We can use a lecturer example, but focus on the type of communication.
Okay, so if the focus is purely on the information being delivered, the content we stick to, say. The lecturer said the exam would be postponed. That's just a statement of fact.
Right. Now, what if the lecturer is issuing a directive? The structure has to change. We must use tell. The lecturer told the students to check the revised schedule.
Oh, that's a huge expansion of the rule.
Notice the structure. Subject plus tell plus direct object students plus an infinitive verb to check.
So when tell is used for commands, it still needs that direct object. But what follows is often an infinitive structure to do something. You can't say, the lecturer said the students to check the schedule.
You can't. The grammar just collapses.
Uh.
Say cannot handle that infinitive command structure. It confirms that tell is designed for direction, for instruction. It needs a target to direct at.
Let's apply this to daily conversation. Give us a subtle example where the choice could actually change how someone interprets the communication.
Okay, consider this. If a person is simply expressing a feeling, we use say, he said he was tired. This is just a neutral piece of information.
But what if he wants that feeling to have an impact or lead to an action?
Then he uses tell. He told his friend that he needed a break. Now, while this still has the direct object, his friend, the implication is often that the information is meant to provoke a reaction.
It's being actively directed to the friend for a reason.
Exactly. You see, the structural check works universally, whether it's a simple statement or a complicated directive.
And finally, let's look at professional settings. This is where the distinction between stating a fact versus directing action is crucial for accountability. We talked about a manager communicating a policy change.
Right. When the focus is purely on the official message, the content of the memo. The manager said the policy had changed.
But if that manager is now holding their team accountable, shifting the focus to the people who must comply,
We must use tell, followed by the staff, the mandatory object. The manager told staff to implement the new safety procedures immediately.
and there it is again, that powerful directive structure. Subject plus tell plus staff plus to implement. That structure clarifies the intended action.
It does. And the use of tell in professional communication, it carries much heavier weight. There's an expectation and accountability because it inherently singles out the recipient.
This is a total game changer. It transforms what felt like this frustrating gray area of language into a clear, binary, structural choice. It's not about finding the right synonym.
No,
It's about choosing the sentence structure that actually fits your intent.
it is. The core realization here is that say is for content delivery, and tell is for directional communication, which often involves a direct command or instruction. Once you stop trying to mentally translate from your first language and just internalize these two distinct English architectures,
Yeah.
your control over the language just improves dramatically.
You move from guessing to knowing.
Exactly.
The ultimate takeaway here seems to be that the choice between say and tell is, at its heart, a structural choice. It's based on whether you're highlighting the content or the recipient, and whether you are stating something or directing an action. Having that control is a real sign of fluency.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, mastering this distinction really shows you've internalized some of the deepest rules of English. The rules dictating how verbs interact with objects and infinitives.
You're moving beyond vocabulary into grammatical control.
That's it. So I'll challenge you now. For the rest of the week, actively read or listen to English and just spot every time tell appears. See if you can always identify that mandatory direct object that has to follow it, whether it's a person or one of those fixed concepts like a story.
So what does this all mean? The source suggests that say delivers information and tell directs it, especially when issuing a command. So consider the media you consume, the communications you receive all day. Which of those two actions, delivery or direction, is more critical? Are you simply being told a fact, or are you being directed toward a certain belief or a certain action? This raises a really important question about the intended purpose of every piece of knowledge you share or receive. The verb you choose reveals your intent.
Thank you for watching. If you want more lessons like this, stay with the English Desk. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more English educational sessions.